What's up, frogs? It's your boy, Dylan James, Elron Humperdinck, looking like the antagonist in a Borderland or Fallout video game. Am I right? I mean, check it out. I did this yesterday, but I'm still honestly jerking it to the steel. It'll probably fall apart. Probably has anthrax all in it. You know, it's China. But, and I'm not talking about the Chinese people, the slaves that probably made this. I'm talking about not the people that slaved away, the people that were made slaves about it. Talk about the government, okay? Government of any kind. I'm wearing some old man's hat that clearly doesn't fit, and my hair isn't greased back, and so all this volume, ladies. I know you want to kill a man for his hair, but sorry, some people win the genetic lottery. You know, haters gonna hate. Anyways. Like I said, follow your boy, Elron Humperdinck, Political Danqhouse. You guys know the drill. I do this all the time. I want to do something real quick. I saw a lot of stuff. I saw something about, like I say recently, with the border. We're going to round up all these people at the border Trump was talking about, or we're going to send ICE in to do these things. And people say, well, why would you announce it? You're undercutting it. And you're harpooning your own plan if you blah, blah, blah. And the ICE agents were disrupted and blah. And the media wants to say, like I said before, they have this ultimatum where Trump will fuck up and it works out for them. If they don't want all these people raided like they act like they do, then why wouldn't they be like, good, we like Trump doing this if we think it would harpoon? But instead they're bitching about it. It's the same with the Iran strike. Instead of saying, well, of course the media wants the war, like in my other video, and it seemed well received. And before I get too much into it, I want to give a shout out to, if you check under my videos, some Stormy Daniels, not the whore, but our classy user, Stormy Daniels, the horse face, coming in hot, telling me, hey, bump your sound levels up. I was afraid that I was going to be blasting y'all out, and turns out it was too soft. So, like I said before in other videos, I appreciate the feedback, and I wanted to let you guys know when I do see feedback. So, I mean, what's the point if I'm not telling you, hey, this worked, hey, I'm thankful that you took heed. But anyways, volume should be coming through good. But people on Twitter and all sorts of stuff. Let's say I saw a Nick Fuentes clip or tweet where he was talking about it. Well, this would be good, or you know. And to go back to my other point real quick, the people would be happier to go, Trump with the Iran strike. He could have caused World War III, but he didn't. And they're like, what do you mean? Wait, I was watching. Stormy Daniels is where a fellow hard bastard viewer. We were in Hard Bastards chat, and everybody, wait a minute, this whole shit about Trump chickening out is he didn't launch World War III. Oh my God, this is going to make him look good. How can we do that? Trump's a pussy. He hesitated. He should have shot the missile. So you can't even be happy that someone's mistake by default is a good thing for you, because it still makes them look good. And that's what I see about this stuff here that we're talking about. When it comes to the border, and he called it off recently, right? He said, I'll give the Democrats and Republicans 2 weeks to do this, which all sorts of stuff's a bluff. Maybe he's calling it out to see if people will hide immigrants, or to showboat like Gavin Newsom. This is just bellicose rhetoric from the president. He's here to scare people. Like what? Saying the fucking law? And he does have more powers than he's letting on. Trump and a lot of people who I'm going to get into are, there's examples of it that I could show, but I don't want to get distracted into it. But he's putting the ball in the Republican and Democrats' court again to make them look like idiots. And a lot of us who will say, why are you doing that? We already know that they're idiots. Or we're already, you can't just give them gasoline and watch them burn a house down just because you know they'll do it and to prove it, because then you're still losing a house, you know what I mean, to prove your point. And we all know they're going to do that. We all know the Republicans and Democrats aren't going to be able to agree, and they're going to, they're going to fuck it up again. And it's going to make Trump look sympathetic to an extent, but at the risk of some of his harder base getting butt hurt. And I mean, some rightfully so, but just the way you go about it, like seriously. Like people saying, there's the people that, well, I might as well have just voted Hillary Clinton. And what? Been at war with Iran and Russia right now? And people act like immigration is the most important thing. It really is important. I'm not saying it's not important at all. But if you wanted to look at, I saw this broken down, like, it would be the tech censorship, and you can argue there's not been enough done about that. There's been stuff recently, just like with the wall funding recently got got approved. You know, who knows where that goes, right? But same with the censorship. You know, there's stuff being, you know, done about it, but not enough. But the thing is, that would be a more important issue, because if you're censored from the internet, how are you going to discuss problems at the border? If your stream getting cut for hate speech when you're down there at the border showing things like James O'Keefe and all these people that they already don't like, how are you going to, you know, how are you going to ever get by with the other? It's like I've said this before, the analogy of a woman and the child. You know, the woman's life is more important in that sense, because you have, like with the animals, you have to make sure, and this is not like saving lives, this is keeping from being, you know, sick and hurt. You want to make sure the mother is in good shape, because she nurses the child, or the, you know, the offspring, if it's animals, right? And so people go, oh, how dare you not help this and that. And you know, it's a baby, and you're like, well, the woman who's going to take care of it needs to be in good shape to do it, and then it will fall in line. Same with this. You need to secure being able to talk about these issues without being called a Nazi, a fascist, and all this stuff before you can even. I mean, and that's not to say it can't be worked at the same time, and that's not to excuse, well, the border shouldn't be this and that, because there's less deportations than even under Obama and all that stuff. And a lot of that could be people fighting Trump just because, you know, Trump's personality isn't likable to these people like maybe Obama's was for some reason. Or, you know, things change. And now, you know, of course, now everybody has a problem with the holding cells that they're in that were Obama era. And that's not to say Obama did, because back in Bush's time, they had stuff like this too. And that gets into my point. People go, it's over. Like Nick Fuentes retweeted whenever he said, I'm going to push this back 2 more weeks. You know, he's more pessimistic, but he doesn't. I have an affinity for him. I like him because he doesn't bitch about it, if that makes sense. He'll nag here and there or something like that, mess around, but he'll just put Lamau, you know, like he's laughing his ass off, like, you know, damn, this shit ain't changing type of shit. And you can read into that. Then there's people under him. And a part of this has to do, you know, I like young people being in politics to an extent, but like the Zoomers coming up, mad respect. But you have this like contrarian attitude that they've had in them because, you know, the generation before, millennials are repulsive and stuff like that, sure, but they have this need to be above it all sometimes. And well, imagine still being a Trump supporter, and it's like, no one asked you, faggot, you know what I mean? But as far as supporting, I supported Obama doing the right things, not like, oh, I'm great, the same reason you don't have to go out of your way to praise somebody to prove you're not a hater is the same thing. You don't have to go out of your way to prove you're just satisfied with something. Like, imagine still being a Trump supporter. I'm gonna fucking burn my MAGA hat, and you know, well, this was the last straw. Nothing's ever gonna change. And I'm like, well, you can't sit there and say, well, we need to find a better choice. Like, nobody's even saying that, but let's just say, well, we need to find a better choice. Everyone's a Zionist shill. Everyone's a sellout to the globalists. Well, then which is it? Like all these people that say, it's over, it's been over, just give it up. Like me wanting the best for the country and asking for solutions on, well, what's your plan? It's not like, well, what's your plan, faggot? It's like, no, let's see what we can impact. That's why I like Owen Benjamin. People will talk shit and give him shit, but he's got a plan. He's sitting here saying, what can I do in my own life? And this is like a Christian approach too, believe it or not. Not besmirching him, but like, you know, thinking about the way things work. This is how Christianity is supposed to work. You're supposed to fix what you can do in your own life. And I know people hijack that and say, gays are no different than everyone else. You need to stay in your business and judgment's up to God. And it's like, what type of fucking baseless accusation or comeback is that? Because God's going to agree with me. And he's not agreeing with me. I'm saying what he said. It's like these people, well, Trump, Shlomo, the Shlomo, he's whatever, he's just an old retard. And a lot of these people just seem like scorned lovers. I mean, you know, my boy, I like Trump just for the sake that he, you know, took the presidency away from Hillary. And people could say, well, that's all scripted, whatever. Yeah, but what does that mean? You're just trying to push yourself above everyone else. I'm not getting got. You seem like a scorned lover, you know, that's afraid to get hurt again or some shit like that. Well, who are we going to run? Well, we could run so-and-so, but he's not in the clique. And you know how that is. It's never going to happen. Well, then why even bitch? See what I mean? My title of the video I'm going to put on this is, Realist, you're a realist, right? But are you a pragmatist or are you a nihilist? Because people act like, well, I'm just a realist. Sorry to bring the bad news to you, but I'm just being a realist. There's a difference between looking at something and bitching and looking at something and saying, damn, we're going to have to go through this. Like I've just mentioned earlier, if somebody were to say, well, the white people made America and they're coming and they're browning America and this and that, right? And we're going to lose by default. People can call all they want and say, well, how come you think it means white? And, well, you think that that's what makes the country. It just is. That's what it was. It's the culture that came over here. I didn't make the rules. I'm just stating history. And then you see how the country's changing when people change these, who we bring in, and they're doing it to change America, yet they want to act like, well, there was no underlying thing here with the Europeans that came before. You can't have it both ways. You can't see something that's a status quo that needs to be changed and associated with white people and all that like the Marxists do, and then at the same time go, well, there was no underlying foundation from white Europeans. Well, then what are you fighting against? What are you changing? What are you trying to change with multiculturalism? And multiculturalism is their attempt to do that. But the people, it gets so old that, I guess it's for tweets and clicks and stuff, and maybe it's cathartic. But to me, it's just it's not helping to say nothing's ever going to get done. Imagine still whatever. Like even the people that say I don't want to vote anymore, even they've got a fucking plan. With me, all these people go, well, Trump, he sells out to Israel and he does all this stuff and whatever, and well, I thought we were America first. He's doing all these things that they don't like. Fine, but like, what are we going to do? What are you going to do? Like I was saying, if the white population is declining and you're worried about that, I'm not saying you shouldn't. By default, I'm white, so. But, well, all these immigrants are coming in, they're going to do this and that, and they're going to crash the system, and people are going to vote Democrat forever. Sure, I know that's fucked up. But eventually people are going to, have to rebel, and I'm not calling for this, but people know that, and that's what some of the accelerationists do. They're kind of cringy sometimes, but even they, have a plan. They have a plan to hurry it up to what's coming that's inevitable. That's not nihilistic. That's a realist, but that's not nihilistic. Even if it's about bringing or being harbingers of doom that's coming, right? Or the impending doom. Like if a wave's coming, the wave's going to smack you in the face in the ocean. I'm thinking about it because I'm going to the beach in a week or two. So maybe. No, but a wave's coming to hit you. And you're like, wow, you could be a realist is going to say that. The realists, both of them, are going to say, hey, that's a wave. It's coming. It's not stopping. A pragmatist is going to say, let me hold my breath. Let me brace for this analysis. Is going to sit there with their mouth open and get water all in their throat and possibly drown because they couldn't keep their mouth shut and saying, well, of course, this wave's going to break on me. Of course, out of all these people out here, the wave break is going to be where I'm at in the ocean. Pragmatist is going to say, damn, this shit's bad. I realize that this is coming. Let me brace for it. Like with the declining white population. Well, what can we do about the border? Well, the border's this. We elected a guy to do this. And it was funny because the person telling me this was a Brit. It's like, you didn't elect shit, but I'm not going to talk shit to him. And I was like, it's happening to your country too. And I'm not going to say fix your own shit because, I care about people caring about America. That's cool. But everybody seems to think that Trump is their figurehead because, the world follows America. Just that's the way it is. But they want to tell me about this, and I'm thinking, man, get your own country in line. And I will say that because they're not being pragmatic about it. What can you do about it if you're not having kids? If you're a white guy and you're not having white kids, or you're not having a lot of kids, and you want the morals in the world to change, and you're like, we can't get people in there that'll fight this. Everybody gets banned off, and people can't get funding if they're against abortion or anything like that. Well, then have kids. Increase your family, grow your own crops and all that stuff, homestead, all that. And people go, oh, that's so barbaric, that's whatever. Well, what's your plan? What is your plan? I've given you a plan. And people that are doing this, like, imagine still thinking government works. They're still late to the party because people like me theologically know that the government's against me. The world will never be perfect. Changes happen within you. You only have control over your own life in certain ways, right? You can control having kids getting married, stay together, enforcing your values on your children, not by force, but instilling them rather. The government's not going to do that. Taking your kids out of homeschool, like how many of these people are saying, "Yep, Trump does it again." Like they still think that the president can save them, and people can say, "What about you?" Whatever. I did it for the culture. I'm still trying to do what I can every day. Whenever I'm sitting there, trying to start business, doing clothes, learning screen print and all this stuff. You know, you see me dog ass tired in here sometimes because I've had a long day of working 2 jobs. It's not like I sat there and said, well, I still am not getting as much as I want to, and wow, my business isn't getting off the ground. I thought Trump was supposed to tax cuts. I thought Trump was supposed to be good for business. No, he's giving you that opportunity, and you do it your fucking self. For now, we're not in nuclear war with anybody. North Korea, Syria, all those places, they haven't been fallen for yet. So why are you not having children? And don't give me this shit about, well, it's just wrong, it's immoral to bring a child into the world in these circumstances, because when has it ever been a good time to bring kids into the world? It's like saying, well, it's just not a good time for people to die or to break up or whatever. When is it ever a good time for bad news? And there's a quote from Theodore Roosevelt that's killing me. Oh, I think I know it. I saw it when I was doing some trivia. It said, not that I care, but I was formatting it for something else. And it said, he was the one saying, doing what you can, while you can, with what you've got. That's a realist. But that's a pragmatist. That's not saying, oh, well, Murphy's Law. Anything that happens is bad will happen at the worst time, guarantee. Like I just said, when's it ever a good time for bad times? Never. What a stupid thing to say. That's just like a cathartic release of bitching. That's not a, hey, what can we do to prevent this bad thing from happening? What can we do to make sure we've got, our foundation firm when this next bad thing happens to us, to where it won't rock us in our psyche enough? No, it's just bitching like, how come bad things have to happen to me? And then it's like, grow up. You're at the point where it's like, how come Trump won't do everything for me? How come the government doesn't work this way and that way? And then also say, well, I'm beating you guys to being heartbroken. Or it's like somebody that will call themselves a name. Yeah, I'm long hair. I'm a mop-headed girl. Yeah, that's right. I beat y'all to it. Y'all have no power over me because I made fun of myself before y'all could do it. That's what these people are doing. They're trying to be defeatists before something bad happens, so they can be like, see, I never fell for it, guys. I'm above it all. You can't be above it and in it at the same time. You can't be participating in the culture, the politics. And people say, well, I'm not. I'm just not pulling for. And people act like, well, Trump's not doing enough for me. Fix it in your own life. And people are sitting there thinking, well, it's not good enough to just say, I'm going to fix my own life. You have to fucking hate Trump. You have to regret voting for him. I don't. I really don't. And people can say, well, the president doesn't really have that much power anyway. Then why are you bitching? Why are you surprised that he can't do anything? Well, he said he could. And then you're the same person that will say, well, all these politicians lie. And then you'll say, well, when Trump's supposed to be perfect and do all this stuff. It's just, I don't know. I'm just chilling. I thought I was like, big dicking over Trump. And then you look at all these people that are scorned. I'm going to burn my MAGA hat. They're more scorned over him than somebody like me would when shit falls through, right? That means that they loved him that much more than me. And now they're acting like they're not. I mean, it's like what we said earlier in other videos, apathy is more extreme than hate because you just don't care. And I want what's best for the country. And when bad things happen, I go, let me just wait it out. And some people go, oh, it's done. It's time. It's over with waiting. It's time to do this. It's time to do that. Well, then do it. I'm not talking about violence. I'm talking about do what you can. Build your communities where you have control. Run for whatever county, this and that. And people go, well, we shouldn't have to do that because that's what we elected Trump for. Well, with states' rights, you guys are for states' rights. How is he supposed to fix things in your state as president, executively and federally, if you also believe in states' rights instead of governing everything from Washington D.C.? You see what I mean? It's just the cross streams or whatever, the talking out of both sides of the mouth. But yeah, let me pull this up. A realist, a person who tends to view or represent things as they really are. I mean, it's like a truthful person, really, is what it should be called. But people say, oh, I'm a realist. I'm a realist. I'm just above it all. I know so much. And I'm still surprised by that bad things can happen and people can fall short, but I'm a realist. I see everything coming, but I'm also still surprised by it. It's crazy. And then pragmatism is a practical approach to the problems and affairs. Like we said, realism is realizing that you have the problem. You always think of the realize, but it's a practical approach to problems and affairs. Like saying, hey, if the population of Americans or people that are conservatives or whites or whatever you want to call it, people you want to live around, or well, that's declining. There's less and less type of people like that. Your solution shouldn't be, well, that's it, it's over, isn't it? Well, it's like with the immigration. Well, that's it, it's officially over. God, bitch, you're putting the fucking onus on Trump because you thought 100% he was gonna like that fix it. It's problems that's been happening since Bush and through Obama, and I know Obama deported more people, but like ICE under him, I don't think he was there. He was stamping things. I don't think he was asking for it. He's just staying out of the way of it. But to pretend like, well, yeah, it's finally over now. Well, he was our last chance. You're acting like a defeatist. You're acting like that if the borders caved in, and I'm not for any of this. If anybody trips the fuck out, or the bottom states start becoming Mexico, which is bad, right? You're still gonna have you're still gonna have your family to answer to, that you're over, your community or whatever, right? Before you even get into states and the country and a border and all that stuff. And that's not to sound globo homo, right? Because I'm talking about the family unit. Globalism doesn't want the family unit. That's the only thing you can do to fight this. And if you're spitting out kids that have beliefs that you do in your culture, race, if you want to, American values, freedom, for me it'd be conservatism, conserving morals and living upright, right? It's easier to have your own kids and all this stuff, or to influence your friends in your immediate circle than to say, I don't know why Trump is just not doing this about whatever. I don't know why Trump's not reaching my friend individually through a speech and making him change his mind about what he believes. That's up to you. And to think that you could, if it's like somebody, let me elect a manager, right, so he can mess with my finances, not in a bad way, but help me manage them, right? And then say, well, I'm going to sit on the tour bus, hope those songs keep getting cranked out. You still have to do your part. It's lazy, it's juvenile, it's nihilistic to think that, well, there's just one thing and that's it, one plan. These people, they have no contingency plan was my problem. And I said, the imagine. And people go, well, actually, I said, I don't put much credence in people that say a problem but don't say what it's over, but don't say what it is. What, white culture, the country, the world, whatever. And somebody says, well, actually, it's quite simply, America was a white country, and if we don't maintain that majority, which we're not because the border, it's just simply over. We won't have a country. And I said, I don't disagree with any of that, but you could have said that the first time. You see what I mean? And don't think it's different because I still had to force you to elaborate. Be like saying, well, I just don't like this because of this, and you don't explain why. If you say, I think this is this was our last shot, and it's over, but because I don't think it can be done because this is causing this and blah blah blah. Instead of saying that's it, it's over. Oh, drumpf, am I right? Or two wings, one bird. Our parties are all the same. It's a uniparty. Why even vote? And like I said, the people who say I'm not going to vote, they're different than people who go, why even vote? Because one of them is an emotional cathartic release of bitching, and the other one is I'm going to do something about it. Even the people out there that talk about chemtrails and polluted in the water, start finding a way to make your own food, make your own water and all this stuff, and it can be done. I'm a farmer. You can do it. There's too much effort in it, removing yourself off the grid. And people talk about, well, Trump, and he's this gay pride stuff, and he's trying to fight in other countries to decriminalize being gay so people don't murder him and this and that. He needs to stick to America first. And it's not even like he needs to fight it here. They're just saying he said he wouldn't do anything in other countries. It's just juvenilistic to think that way. And to me, how come if you're in a county and your county's starting to do that and you get wind of it, why aren't you banging down the doors of your town hall and saying, we're not going to do this? This is degeneracy. I'm fighting against this. I'll stand against this. Everybody else, because that takes leadership. Not a lot of people want to be leaders. They want to be followers, and especially these people that want to be gammas, that want to have expectations in their mind, and then project them onto somebody like Trump. And then when he falls through, they see it in themselves, and they go, "Wow, you little whatever. You sell out. Why don't you bend over? You're no different than Hillary." You can say that. It sucks that we're still getting a lot of the stuff that's still happening that we don't want. But to just try and purposely do that is just so dumb. I mean, for one, Trump's way easier to listen to than Hillary would have been. The shrillness of it, the amount of rubbing it in we'd still have of a whamming president, the fact that we would have had a no-fly zone over Syria and we would immediately been in a war with Russia, no doubt. She's got to be in her bitch bonnet over Russia. Same with Iran. She said on tape that we're dealing with, if it was up to me and Iran, we will need to let them know that we will attack Iran. Iran's a proxy of Russia, just like Syria. They would be in it. With Trump, he called the missile strike off 10 minutes before it happened. I think that's a bluff. I think it's to put people in panic. Whip the belt off and say, "You're getting punishment. No, please, I won't ever do it again, please." And they're freaking the fuck out. They'll remember that. They'll remember the mercy somebody had on them. And I have a lot of neoliberals that are like, well, there's a lot of people that'll talk shit and go, act like they're more open-minded than me because they're liberals, right? And then I'm sitting there, I say a lot of times people can act like I'm a bit fascistic or totalitarian. I've told you I'm more for security now than I am freedom in a lot of senses. But these people were saying, Dylan, how could you, Elron, you're so stupid, how Trump's being a bitch, you would have said this over Obama. And I'm like, show me where I talk shit about Obama. I wasn't political at the time, but I didn't. I remember when he won, and I said I didn't vote for him, and I couldn't, but I didn't support him. But I hope for the best. I hope that things don't happen. And when, he was a pussy. But when we weren't going to war with Syria, that's fine. The problem wasn't the war. The problem was that ISIS was being funded like proxies. But if you people if this would have been Obama that didn't retaliate, you would have called him weak. And I go, Trump let the Iranians bomb a tanker and whatever with no recourse. He weakened our strength as America on the world stage. I'm like, that sounds pretty globalist for a liberal to care about the world stage. But I was giving this person shit because they're so matter of fact. Like the people on the left, they're the equivalent of these hard writers that I try to, fucking Trump. But anyways, this person was supposed to be liberal, and they act like they're not. They act like they're just against Trump. They're like the conservatives, but are socially liberal. It's like, to me, that's not a conservative. A conservative is socially conservative too, because wanting to keep your own money, that's not like, oh, that makes me, a traditionalist. It doesn't. It just means that you like, you want to keep your money. You like money. You're trying to be financially smart. It's the verb, not the lifestyle, in lack of a better term. And it's the same that happened with Reagan. Reagan was like liberal when it came to social policies, and everybody thinks that conservatism means that now too. That's why we get the libertarianism and stuff like that melds over. Like, to me, I'm not a libertarian because I'm not for gay marriage. I'm not for people transitioning into different sexes, even if it only hurts them, because I think I have a vested interest in keeping society from doing things like that, from seeing people doing that and go, well, maybe I could do that. It's more than just, well, it's just them and their body and their whatever and their choice and whatever. No, it's green lighting things in the future. That's that pragmatist right here I'm talking about. I'm looking for a practical approach to stop the problems. These people are complaining when there's a problem, and they won't go to the source of it. It's just like with the Black Lives Matter, people seem to get that one, that people wait until a black thug is shot in the street, right? And there's police brutality. Sure, I saw something recently on High Impact Vlogs. If you've seen him, I like his stuff. There was a cop that had a black dude, arrested or detained, and he was sitting on wet pavement, and all some black dude did was walk by and say, hey, can y'all just let him stand? He's getting his pants wet. They chased him down to beat the fuck out of him, And stuff like that should be investigated. People should be barred, be put in jail and stuff like that. But my point is, instead of waiting until somebody gets shot, and it's always a bad poster child. I haven't seen Black Lives Matter talk about the video I was just talking about, where it's probably, not probably, but probable, like it's provable, that it was misconduct and it was wrong. And it was a white guy on a black guy. It should have been You know, there we go. It should have been it. And or just like with the blacks in Chicago shooting each other, people go, well, we're going to ignore that because it's not the right narrative. And then if there's a narrative like I just mentioned, I don't know why they're not picking up on it. It goes to show that they're for turmoil. The two people I'm talking about, the pragmatist and the nihilist, people are for order and people are for chaos. These people just want to rile up, the blacks whenever something bad happens, and people go, yeah, that was my. They always interview the mother like that's supposed to change anything. A biased mother, that was my baby. He was just trying to go through school. He was whatever. Your baby could be, a mass murderer, and you could still love him. That's the way shit works, and you're biased towards him. Just like that, Paddock, I think in Vegas. We all know Vegas wasn't done by one fucking white lunatic, but the brother said, I just don't. He was such a good guy. He didn't seem wrong. That doesn't make a shit whenever there's stuff has already happened. If somebody shoots up a school, well, that didn't sound like Ma Dillon. It doesn't matter if it sounded like it to you. It happened. Give or take false flags. But if something really happens, right, well, that doesn't sound like my baby. I just can't believe he would do something like that. Well, it doesn't matter. He did. It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. But the Black Lives Matter, to get back to my point real quick, they don't think, they say, oh, it's the system, it's something to do with the system, and they only target blacks. Have you ever thought, why are blacks in the position of being in trouble, the fatherless homes? You can still blame it on the man, the government. You could even blame it on the white man. But they can't, because it'd be like Democrats would, how they're offering reparations now. That shouldn't even be an argument. People shouldn't even be giving that the light of the day. But you go back to those times, they separated families. Welfare, Lyndon Baines Johnson, who didn't like blacks, let's just say it that much. I'll have those niggers voting Democrat for 200 years. Kick the man out of the house, and they do it with everybody now. All these single mothers, like 90% of them are on welfare. And people say, well, they deserve it because they're in a bad position. No, you're incentivizing a bad position because you're giving them a safety net to something. Especially if you were providing abortions for it. Like we say, there's, like in conservatism, there's outcomes for things. Everything's a trade-off. It's never going to be perfect, and there's consequences for your actions. That's basically what it is. That's a realist point of view. What you should do is fix the culture. And people could argue. Some people argue you can't, and whatever, right? The extremes on all the sides. Some people argue it's racist to assume that they need to be fixed. Well, there's a problem. You admitted there's a problem, but you're not being a pragmatist. You're not going to where you think you can fix the problem. If there's a leak in a boat, you're just looking out, trying to get the water. Like I said earlier, you got, like with the mother, you got to fix the mother first so the baby will be fine. If your ship is filling with water, you can't sit there and start throwing water out with a pail over and over and going, well, I wonder why the water's still rising, because you haven't fixed the hole first. Oh, well, the boat was flooding. We couldn't find the hole, and the whole time we were looking for the hole, the water just kept rising and rising. It doesn't matter. You don't, quote unquote, have to get to the water first, because it's worth rising water just a little bit more so you can find the hole to plug it and stop it. Because once you stop it, you can start dealing with the problem, like we said at the flashpoint of where it happened. Fatherless homes, kids grow up without discipline. They go to gangs because that's their family, and people act like, blood, my family. And then they're raised by single parents. It's just mothers, a woman raising a son cannot constrain them once they're in their teenage years, and they can't tell them what they need because they're not a man. People can cry all they want, but that's going to demasculate a man, and it's going to make him want to prove himself. That's why you get all this violence. That's why you get people looking to gangs for family or a unit, or a place to belong. And so there's no discipline, and people don't want to talk about that though, because that's not an easy fix, and they're not looking to fix it. But like I said, the people, drunk, am I right? It's just it's a cope. It's a easy way to just stab at something and go, yeah, well, if it wasn't for these damn racist cops. I don't see how people don't see the difference with, like, the similarities between far left and far right. What can you do to make it better? You need to start calling these people out with neighborhood watch and all this stuff, right? Get the filth out of your community. You won't need the comms. It's the same with the border and stuff. People could be coming in. Have you got a fence on your property? Have you fixed a fence on your property first? Have you armed yourself, just in case something were to happen, the country collapses, whatever? Have you got a contingency plan with your family on how you're going to survive, stored food, all that stuff? And all this stuff makes you a quote-unquote terrorist, of course. But to the government, because they don't like reliant people. Reliant people can't be slaves. Or self-reliant people can't be slaves. But have you gotten married? Have you stopped jacking off the porn? Have you stopped wasting your seed? Have you looked for a woman to marry? Have you had kids? Like I said earlier, I don't need to explain it again. And taught them, ways of life. Are you reaching out to your friends saying you shouldn't be doing these types of lifestyles? They're degenerate. Are you doing your part to lift the whole of society, the morale? And a lot of people aren't. No, look, they're nihilists. A viewpoint that traditional values and beliefs are unfounded and that existence is senseless and useless. What is that? No matter who we vote in, we're going to get the same results. What does that sound like? Useless. It's senseless and useless to even try. Why even try? And you know what why even try does to people? People can pretend like, well, I'm really just talking about voting and stuff. Yeah, but you're not elaborating it. Like a gamma wouldn't. You're just doing your stat. I'm a secret king. I'm the king of the universe. Only I have the answers. Everyone's a shill but me. You're not. That's not value. Anything of value. That's not giving people a way out. That's like when people sometimes talk about red pills. They go, if you red pill too much, it can cause you to spiral. And I agree. Getting hit with too much information or anything, like when a death hits you young as a child, you're not ready for it. It can really harden you to things. And that's why I think I'm a theological person. I think that the base level faith needs to be there, the connection with something above you. Because, same with if you're tripping on drugs or if you're drunk out of your mind or if you're going through bad times or you're learning something that's just blowing your mind or you're being hardened to the world and what it is, becoming a realist rather. The thing that keeps you going into pragmatism over nihilism is that you have that belief, that core, that things are going to be all right. And not like a happy-go-lucky, well, everything's going to be all right. But something that keeps you from just shitting on all the chances you have to make it better. Just for the sake of, well, but what's the point? I just squandered all this. I'm not doing anything to help in my own personal life. And, what's the point in even trying? Like I just said, what's the point earlier? What's the point in even having kids in a world like this? I used to think like that. Not like a nihilist, but, worry about it. Now I don't. There's never a good time, to have kids, in a sense. Right? If you're looking at it like that, you see all this degeneracy on TV, and people keep forgetting that they have control in their own lives. They keep forgetting that it doesn't matter if Miley Cyrus is whoring herself on TV and Bruce Jenner or Caitlyn Jenner or somebody's trying to tell you you're trans. Just turn the TV off. Tell your kids we're not watching that in this house. This is not normal. This is not the way life is. We don't treat women this way. We have more reverence for sex. We don't, strip nude. That's not normal for people to do, to whore themselves out. And like I said, I clash with a lot of people that are for liberty and stuff when it comes to that. Well, they should be able to do that. Yeah, but I have the freedom to turn that off too and to not promote it. And I think, at what cost is freedom when our morality as a country is going down? Because people are having the freedom to choose, and they're choosing nihilism over pragmatism. So is it really helping? Is it helping? I would say no. It's not helping at all. It's making people bitter, making them feel hopeless. It's making people give up. It's making people check out. It's like when people get off drugs and people say, well, it's good you got off drugs. Well, that's it. Thanks. Instead of saying, here's how you go from here. Or PTSD. Here's how you live as a civilian when you're a soldier. Here's the tools you can do to make yourself better. Like when people have alcoholism. Well, good luck. Don't drink. What does that even fucking mean? That's just a demand. Like you got to sit there and say, next time you get a craving for drinking, you need to do this, or you need to count to whatever, or remember the step, or think of so-and-so that gives you a reason to not. Or like with smoking cigarettes, people go, if you want to quit smoking cigarettes, just don't. It's like, no, it's going to happen. You're going to want a cigarette. The least you could do is be pragmatist instead of nihilistic, instead of saying, well, you'll be thinking about cigarettes for the rest of your life. What can you do? Life is suffering. Say next time you want to smoke a cigarette, chug water or eat an apple. Change your health regimen to where you're not eating as much sugar, because your brain won't be saying, hey, I want more dopamine. And so, giving you bad things like cigarettes and all that stuff if you're trying to quit. Instead of just saying smoking's bad. And, yeah, you don't think that people that make that choice, the freedom to make that choice, know that it could hurt them and stuff, right? But if you give them tools to quit and they want to quit, it's better than just like what good is quitting when the companies are always going to be advertising them, and you're never going to stop cigarette companies from making cigarettes, importing all these people in. Least you could do is fix it. But all these people condescendingly saying, you need to cut loose from Trump or whoever. Cut loose from these people. Stop being so juvenile. Yeah, but cut loose and do what? Because you're not fixing anything. This Brit wasn't. That's like, does he have kids? Does he, like I mentioned earlier? I said, you keep condescendingly saying cut loose, like my simple discussion of saying, well, where do we go from here? What's your plan? If not this, if the masthead's not working. I said, you act like our simple discussion is clinging to my heroes. I was living my life, and I disagree with Trump on a lot of stuff when it comes to social issues like gay marriage and all this stuff. I wouldn't want to be married more than once. Wouldn't want to have children out of wedlock, right? I said, that's the underhanded shit we've mentioned this whole time, is the people doing that shit like, you need to cut loose, you need to grow up, you need to whatever. No, it's like, you need to grow up. You need to have a contingency plan. You can't just flip the fucking table because you didn't get the food you want and then say, well, I wonder why there's a mess here. You gotta have a plan. And saying, well, I wonder where my food's at. Well, I had food, but now I don't. You flipped the table. You didn't make a plan to say, hey, let me go to another place to eat. You just flipped it and showed your ass. And it's like, well, I just wanted to prove that I wasn't getting my way. Well, what would your way be? Well, I don't know. I just wanted to prove something. But that's the underhanded shit I'm talking about. The border shit sucks, but it's not stopping me from changing what I can in a smaller community. And that's the only way it'll happen. I said, I'm from NC because somebody was talking about the southern states. You'll see how important it is. Acting like I didn't say it was important just because I asked for a plan. Like, well, I'm so unhappy and whatever. Well, what can you do to fix it? You don't care. You acknowledge that I'm unhappy. No, I'm asking you, like, what can we do to fix it? Yeah, just acknowledge you don't really care about me, is what that even feels like. I said, because this person was talking about, well, when the southern states go away, you'll think something. And I said, I'm in NC, so I don't know why you're trying to tell me to quote unquote move up. Like, you need to move up and make a fortress or whatever. I said, like I've said in all these other different threads, unless you're having more children and educating them about these things, there's no other contingency plan. People always say that children are our future. There's a reason. So when you frogs go out there and have your tadpoles, make sure you're keeping them moral, keeping them legit, giving them a purpose, giving them somebody to answer to higher than themselves, keep them from being nihilist. And they'll push the right message. They'll fight for what's right, and they'll fight to maintain what they've grown up in. It's just that simple. It really is simple. It starts with you. Peace out, scrubs.